Jared Fogle.
Ah.
Jared, it was actually announced today that
he was fucking with an underage.
There was 14 different underage girls that there was some sort of inappropriate connection with that they found within his text messages. There was, I believe, some child pornography on his computers or somewhere in his home. He is now facing, I guess the plea deal is that he's facing 5 years in prison, as well as he has to pay 1.4 million in restitution to the 14 victims, 100,000 each, which I think is very little. 100,000 ain't shit.
Right.
I think that's unbelievably small. And his wife announced that she's leaving him, and Subway has officially severed their ties with Jared Fogle. I'll be honest, when I saw the first pictures of him when the FBI raid happened and he was standing outside his house and he looked perfectly calm, and he didn't look scared, the first thing I thought was, okay, this other guy because I guess he had hired a guy.
Right, somebody that runs with him.
To run his foundation, who turned out to be a child molester. And I thought, okay, it's not uncommon for someone to get caught and to try to lessen their time by telling on someone else, especially someone bigger, because clearly a Jared is a much bigger prize for the FBI than some guy you've never heard of. Mm-hmm. So when I first saw these pictures, and based visually what I saw, I said, okay, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. This is probably, we're gonna hear from the FBI a couple of weeks later that charges are being dropped and he's gonna go back to Subway and, whatever. So I was actually shocked when I heard quite the opposite. Did you think that when they first busted him that he was gonna end up being guilty?
No, I kind of thought what you thought, maybe it was a peripheral, like somebody that worked with him or something, maybe they were the ones and they had to come to his crib because that dude worked there and there might have been some shit, but I didn't think necessarily that it was, this motherfucker. But at the same time, I don't put a lot of shit past, I don't take things on face value. So it's like, it's possible, I look at him again and I'm like, well, he could be a little child molesting motherfucker now that I look at his punk ass. Never really looked at him like that before because he's just a nigga on a Subway commercial, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the weird part about it all was that I guess he was having sex with underage female employees at Subway. He literally
at Subway.
Like Subway employees, like underage Subway employees.
Because he's a Subway rock star. That's
right.
The
I'm like, damn, motherfucker. He's the you can't take that shit to Burger King or something? This is where your checks
don't know
are
you there.
they know you there.
He's telling them bitches, I can get you free sub. I got the special card. I got that golden card.
Well, let me tell you, when you go to
free
prison,
subs for life, bitch.
Right,
What's up?
Now he's going to prison. He's going to get some footlongs of his own. Let me
$5.
You gonna get some free footlongs.
Shit.
Because let me tell you, in prison, a child molester.
And they gonna be singing that shit too when they
Oh,
pound his ass like $5.
But this really goes to show, I feel, it really illustrates where we are as a society in terms of what a celebrity is. Because if you really think about it, I don't know how financially well off Jared is, but
he had a nice house to me.
His house looked nice.
Looked nice to me.
So I'm going to assume that Jared was a millionaire or a multimillionaire, right?
At the very,
probably a multimillionaire, because even though he wasn't doing commercials, his picture was all over Subway in the stores.
First of all, you can be in one TV commercial and possibly make $1 million.
Really? It's like that.
Commercials pay, especially with national commercials.
Yeah.
The level of pay is retarded. You might get $100,000 just to do the one commercial,
right?
And then your royalties on it, you getting checks in the mail, 60,000, 50,000,
right.
like motherfuckers living off of commercials.
Right.
And he had a campaign that went on for years.
For years, you're right. And like all the posters and everything in the
He
stores.
was the spokesman. Like that's
Subway, yeah.
He trust me, he got paper.
He got paper.
He got paper.
But if you really think about it, what did this man do to be a celebrity, to be celebrated?
Just went to Subway and lost some weight. He used Subway as a way to fucking shed his fat ass of all them pounds.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, why does somebody even get that fat a lot of times? Because psychologically, there's something they're trying to cover up. They might have emotional issues, and they use food as a comfort, a security blanket, and all that type of shit. So now, think about how insecure a person is like that.
Yeah.
So now, when he was fat, do you think he was getting bitches and shit like that? Of course not. And so since then, somehow he probably, through his years, he learned, hey, wait a minute, I'm a rock star at Subway. I could be getting mad Subway pussy. And then he probably started hitting up certain Subway people, and finally he went down the rung, and he found out, oh, it's the 14-year-olds that think I'm hot. All right, fuck it, I'll take what I can get. And he's a piece of shit for doing it. I mean, he needs to fucking, get hung with his own fucking penis, But
Yeah.
that's another story.
It's interesting though how you really just got lucky. You lucked up into an incredible situation.
Just because somebody heard, like, what if nobody ever heard the story?
No, this is a lucky situation. There is nothing, this man did not build up. Like, it ain't like you were walking down the street and someone said, hey, do you want to join a rap group? It's called Brand Nubian. We got these two other guys. They're going to write your rhymes and, you just got the right look.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
Okay, here we go. It's manufactured. It's the Backstreet Boys. Okay, gold album, 5 mics, whatever. Okay, cool. Like you built up and had to rap and write, and you weren't very good in the beginning, and you had
Learn
to
your
learn
shit.
and improve, and you finally got a record deal, and then you had to make, there's such a long, like how many years did it take you by the time your first album came out? Seriously.
From the time I told myself that I wanted to make records,
Yeah.
I probably was like 13
And it
when
came
I
out.
wanted to.
Yeah.
I was about 17 when, I met like Daryl C from the Crash Crew and told me he was going to help me try to make a record. And I was 21 by the time it actually finally happened. So
8 years.
There we go.
It took you 8 years of working every day?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Saturday, Sunday, all that
Just constantly just living it, consumed by it.
Yeah.
Every day. You
Yeah.
don't have to force me to do nothing. I'm doing it.
You're doing it 8 years. This guy basically just lost some weight. I don't know how he got discovered, but I'm sure it was not a long, intensive process. Someone looked at him and said,
I was in a local paper or some
Yeah.
shit like that. They did a little story on him.
Yeah, and
they got wind of it in the corporate offices. Hey, this could be good for
this could be good.
Yeah.
And
this could be a whole new angle.
yeah, what's interesting about Subway also is that it's not a public company; it's private. Unlike McDonald's and Burger King, and all these other, Taco Bell, whatever else, it's owned by Pepsi and so forth. Like Subway is just a completely private company. Yeah, and I believe they have more locations than McDonald's. They actually overtook McDonald's, so it was interesting because it came in a time where people were trying to get more healthy and.
Right.
That
And that was a great aspect because prior to that, you would think of somewhere like Subway as a place where you're going to gain weight.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
see? So they show that.
Right,
that
because Subway
Jared,
sandwiches.
No, to the contrary, you can actually lose weight. Look at this fat motherfucker who lost all this weight. Look
right.
at all his pants. He was out there.
Yeah. And it's just interesting how you could get in such an unbelievably lucky situation that you're making millions of
Right.
dollars. And
then fuck it up because you
fuck it up
some
and
young girl pussy.
Yeah, and one day it all comes crashing down. He's gonna go to prison for 5 years.
Good.
He's gonna have to pay all these girls.
He's going to have to get raped in jail.
Yeah, and when he comes out, ain't nobody gonna want to touch him. He has to register himself as a sex offender. That was the other thing.
First of all, why would you want to touch him? There's nobody else that would He's famous because of Subway. If Subway doesn't fuck with you, it's not like you can move over to Arby's or some shit because you already lost the weight off Subway. There's no other reason for anybody to have you as a spokesperson other than Subway.
But even not even a spokesperson. Like I'm saying, like he can't go get a regular job anymore. Like when he gets out, you know what I mean? Because it's like
unless he changes it, you know what he's gonna have to do? He's going to have to change his appearance. You know he's going to do it? He's going to grow a beard and get fat again.
Get fat again. Right. Hey, motherfucker, you look familiar.
Yeah, you look I can't quite place it.
But you look familiar. Nah, one of those faces. Yeah, I mean, he's fucked. The rest of his life is fucked. Because like I said, like who's really going to hire him? Who's
psychologically, well, maybe these 14-year-old girls' life is fucked. So
100%.
Eye for an eye. Fuck for a fuck.
Yep. Birdman has been somehow implicated in the Lil Wayne bus shooting.
Right.
Number one, do you believe there's any truth in this whatsoever?
This goes back to my standard answer. I do not put nothing past none of these motherfuckers. I don't know. I don't have enough facts. Can I make a hypothetical guess? I say the possibility exists that, yeah, he could have something to do with it. But I don't know that.
Birdman does come from that life.
This is what I'm telling you.
He has teardrop tattoos.
Listen.
And he's talked about them. Like, let me tell you what these teardrops, don't make me show you what these teardrops are about. So he has he's talked that gangster shit.
And when you have a certain ego and you got certain people around you, like I said, this is, everybody paints themselves in the corner with certain shit. You know what I mean? Like, and then when you're called on it, you gotta show and prove, or you gotta say, you know what, I was just talking shit. You know what I mean?
Well, clearly you're not gonna say, yeah, I called that, Playboy. Like, there's no way anyone's going. Clearly, he's going to deny it.
Right.
But 100% of the time.
Right. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But yeah, you could deny. But what I'm saying is, yes, the possibility exists that it can happen. But I don't know that I don't even have any secondary information about anything. I'm just hearing what y'all is hearing, and I just look at Birdman, and I say, yeah, I could see him doing some shit like that, but I don't know.
I interviewed Corinne Steffens, and she had a long history with Wayne. And what she found interesting is Wayne calling Birdman daddy is the same thing that a prostitute will call her pimp. Daddy. Do you feel that Wayne and Baby have a father-son type relationship, or is that just kind of played up a little bit?
I think that there is a father-son relationship. I think it's kind of like how a pimp would want you to call him daddy. I think it's very psychological. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's very, I think Baby is a great pimp. I think Baby understands psychology of the human being and how to make someone feel indebted to him forever. And
come to think of it, that was sort of odd. I don't remember referring to my father as anything but dad.
And see, I heard
even from the time I was maybe 10 moving on, like I never referred to my father as daddy as a teenager or as a 20-year-old, but they have a song called Stunt Like My Daddy.
Right, daddy.
Daddy.
Right, like I call my pops, Pops.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, yo, Pops. You know what I mean? Or we used to call him Dad. We never called him Daddy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
A girl.
Like even when we was little kids, like we might used to say Mommy.
Yeah.
But we never said Daddy. We say Dad.
Yeah.
And then Pops as you get older. But here's the thing, right? Like I watched the interview with the Birdman and Angie Martinez.
Yeah.
And he said he was like around 15 or 17 or something when he started like guess, having Lil Wayne and all of that and trying to act like the father or some shit like that?
Well, he got Lil Wayne early.
No. Birdman said he was that age when he started feeling like he was these people's fathers. He said he got his first check for $30 million when he was 19 years old.
Wow.
So they were asking him, when did you first start having this, father-son relationship? He said around 15, 17 or whatever. Now, I remember being young, you know what I mean? And seeing little cool young niggas who I felt like, I could put this little nigga under my wing. And, You know what I mean? I'm going to teach him some shit about the streets and all of that. Teach him about crime or whatever the fuck. And, I'm going to use him to steal little shit for me. But never at any point where did I say in my mind, you know what? I'm going to be this little kid's father.
Right.
And he's going to be my son. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I have a staff of about 20 people, and all of them are younger than me.
Right.
So they all report to me. They look at for me.
Right, but they're not calling you dad. Nobody's calling you daddy.
No, none of them.
Right. Yeah, it's just a little weird. You know what I mean?
It is kind of
even
weird.
if you got love for the little dude,
Right.
you know what I mean?
But I remember at one point Lil Wayne's father died.
Right.
When he was young. And I remember reading about this interview where Birdman took Wayne to go see his father. His father had just passed, and they were driving back, and Wayne was crying in the car, and was like, my daddy's gone. Like, no, I'm your daddy. And then that's kind of, so he took the role of Wayne's father after Wayne passed, but it's not really his father.
Right. And I mean, that sounds good. Sounds like a good story. Sounds like a good scene in a movie. It's just a little weird, but it is what it is. I don't know, And then that being said, okay, if you do feel that this man is your son, right, and then he betrays you, you got a lot of fathers that feel like, well, I brought you in this world to take you out, motherfucker.
Look at Marvin Gaye. That's actually the exact verbiage that Marvin Gaye's father used when when he killed Marvin Gaye. But granted, there was
right, and the new verbiage is to I'll Marvin Gaye you, little motherfucker.
Really?
I've heard some shit like that.
Okay.
You get Marvin Gaye out this motherfucker. Keep fucking with me.
Yeah. Do you you have a son, right? Mm-hmm. How old?
22.
22. Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever really been at odds?
Have I ever felt like Marvin Gaye in him? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not saying that, but I mean, have you just really gotten to some major, because I don't think that hardly any fathers would ever think of killing their son. I think that's a very foreign concept.
Yeah, no, maybe not killing him,
but have you
beating the shit out of him? Yes,
you've had that
absolutely.
A few times.
Yeah, wanting to. Yeah, not necessarily.
What did he do to trigger this type of thing? Too much. Okay.
What didn't he do? We're not even going to get all into that shit. What didn't he do is the question.
Okay.
A lot of shit. But see, there is that feeling sometimes of, okay, this is my creation, you see, and if my creation's not going to act right and all this type of shit, then, a certain part of your ego might be like, well, let's get rid of what I created there, and I'll create a new one or some shit like.
Yeah, I think
it works like that.
Lil Wayne, Birdman's new protege is this dude named Marquise. It's a singer dude with dreads who was part of Young Thug's entourage, and he's pushing him now and so forth. I mean, Birdman has definitely been good at finding talent and building it up and having it. You no matter what you say about Birdman, you cannot take away his level of success in the music industry.
Absolutely
you
not.
Cannot.
Absolutely not.
But I've interviewed Turk. And we have footage of this. Where he talked about the kissing in the mouth, and he said it was kind of like a mafia thing or something. It wasn't, they weren't just going around kissing each other all the time. It was more of a thing. But I think it was a thing that Birdman kind of came up with. A lot of people have made an issue over Baby and Wayne kissing in the lips, and Baby explained that. I remember on a radio show saying, that's my son. If you have kids, you understand.
Yeah. I mean, that situation, man, it was like, see, they caught them in the moment where the fans and the media and all of it, they made it out an issue that it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It's just like the mob, they kiss each other all the time, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna go to them and say they no bitch or no hoe or none of that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not with Baby and them to this day, you know what I'm saying? I never say that that's what they is, you know what I'm saying? That just was something that a nigga did in the in-house. Just like nigga play basketball, nigga might make a shot, nigga hit him on his ass. That don't mean he a fag, that mean, you know what I'm saying, nigga good job, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a man, like, I mean, people just look at that different, you know what I'm saying? I didn't see it that way, you know what I'm talking about?
Sure. Did other people in Cash Money do that, or was it just Baby and Wayne?
Nah, man, we all used to do that shit. That was an in-house thing. Like, nigga used to be like, you know what I'm saying, nigga, you got love for a nigga, how much you love me. It just was a homeboy thing, you know what I'm saying? They got a lot of clique of niggas might play all kind of games with they niggas in-house, you know what I'm saying? But when the media get to it, they gonna blow it out of proportion. You know how they do it.
I found that to be odd.
Listen, there's a lot of odd shit in this world, period. Like, it doesn't start and stop with Birdman. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of just odd shit out here, period. Like, you know what I mean? So
I feel you.
There's just one more thing in a world that's getting increasingly odder. You know what I mean? Increasingly more weird.
You saw the NWA movie?
Yes. Finally. Felt like I was the last person on earth to see it.
What I have found interesting in the aftermath of the NWA movie, no pun intended,
Right.
was that the whole Eazy dying of AIDS thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've put out a few interesting clips. Like, for example, we put out a Bone Thugs and Harmony clip where they talk about they don't think that Eazy actually died of AIDS.
Even to this day, none of his kids, none of his baby mamas, his mistresses, nobody has came up with HIV or nothing like that. So, I mean, just rationally thinking, some had to go on.
Yeah, and it's just ironic because, I know people can live with HIV for years and look normal and look healthy, but when you're about to die from AIDS, full-blown AIDS, you're gonna look like you're gonna die from AIDS. I've seen people that die from AIDS and they look like they have AIDS. Eazy didn't look like that at all when he passed away, at all.
There was a video that we had found from a while back about Suge Knight talking about how they inject people with AIDS and do a slow death like Eazy-E. And I talked to one of Eazy-E's daughters the other day, as well as Eazy-E's oldest son, who don't think that Eazy-E died of AIDS, that there was something else going on. Stuff like this bothers me. This type of talk bothers me because, look, you keep fucking raw, you fucking everything, out there with no condoms. And Eazy, we actually found an interview as well from 1992 with Howard Stern where Eazy just said, I don't use condoms.
You wear condoms when you have sex?
No, apparently not.
You don't have condoms?
No.
You never wear a condom?
No. You heard about AIDS?
Yeah, but the people that I mess with don't.
They're clean?
Yeah.
How do you know?
You smell them before you have sex with them.
I would have had it myself if they would have had it, right?
Oh, man.
I don't jump around.
See, Case, are we doomed as a society?
I guess so.
And Eazy was known to just have women constantly. So nobody wants to say, something, he was having unsafe, he was being reckless with his body, he caught AIDS and he died. Nobody's saying that Magic Johnson is a conspiracy, but yet everyone wants to say that Eazy-E dying is a conspiracy, which I feel.
Well, Magic Johnson didn't have letters from the FBI coming to him about songs, fuck the police and shit like that. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
you know, and then,
Which
you know,
could
what
put
I'm
you on a
hearing
certain
is,
radar.
oh, he got diagnosed with AIDS right after he came back from the White House. And, you know, like I'm hearing this a lot in the comments.
Right.
And I almost feel like a lot of these people who are justifying or creating these conspiracy theories are probably having unsafe sex themselves, and they're using these conspiracy theories to justify that, you know, staying with the same behavior that they're doing. I sort of feel that way. What's your take on it?
Well, you know it can go either way. Here's the thing. We've taken on face value that AIDS is transmitted through sex.
Yes.
We don't really know that. Like,
Or-
you're not a biologist, nor am I. You understand what I'm saying? You yourself have never studied this shit. You don't know that condoms really protect the shit. You see what I'm saying? You're going by what you're being told.
Okay.
Now, that being said, someone like me who knows that there's a concerted effort generationally to control the population. We've talked about this before.
Yes. Chris Brown went on Twitter and he feels that Ebola is population control.
He is correct. But he has to someone like Chris Brown, it's hard for him to say that, but he is absolutely correct in his assessment of what Ebola is and what it's being used for. One of the things it's being used for. If you could unleash something on the population that would frighten people from having unprotected sex, which would make the birth rate go down, because if you're having protected sex,
Which
you're
it
not
has.
going to have as much pregnancies, then that would be a helpful thing to do for the people who are the ones who are, again, on this genetic survival kick, who, you know, trying every different method to create a birth control thing. So just hear me out on that. So we're assuming that everything we're being told about how, we know AIDS exists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but do we really know how it's transmitted? That's number one. Now, assuming that he did get AIDS the way he's saying, then yes, you would have to look at his sexual practices, and that would, you know, that would be a good argument for monogamy and shit like that. I know a lot of rappers after he died really started pumping their brakes, like, whoa.
Really? So you remember, because you were rapping at the time, because I didn't think about that. You were a rapper, a professional rapper at the time that, okay, so when you...
But they was on a different level, you see what I'm saying?
NWA was way up there.
NWA was way up there, so these motherfuckers.
Did you ever meet Eazy-E?
I don't think I ever met Eazy-E.
NWA?
Ice Cube, MC Ren.
Dre?
I think I've met Dre before.
Okay.
And never Yellow, but MC Ren and Ice Cube on a number of occasions. You know what I mean? Ice Cube, he's that's my.
When you first found out, did you slow down?
I think so, probably. You know what I mean?
Because Eazy was the first and I believe only rapper to die of AIDS.
Right. See, I know there was
which is kind of interesting considering how rappers wild out. Like, you ain't gonna tell me all these rappers is fucking
and
these
this
groupies.
this is why it's shady. Like, why just him?
Yeah.
All the rappers that wild out, all the groupies that are tossed around from rapper to rapper.
Yeah.
Why only him?
Why only him?
You see, that's when when you start to think about shit like that.
And there's also one of the arguments is also that Tamika was pregnant with,
and she ain't got it.
She ain't got it, and he actually had 2 kids that were born after he died.
Then they ain't got it.
They ain't got it. And AIDS is sometimes transmitted through sperm to the baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes, not always.
Or it can be transmitted, you know, a lot of diseases like that get transmitted as the baby's being delivered. You know, there could be bacteria on the walls of the vagina and of the womb and all that type of shit, and they can get it in that type of way. You can also get it through, you know, the umbilical cord and shit like that, like the mother's breast milk, all kind of stuff. Ways a baby is vulnerable to shit like that. But yeah, those are good things that you have to ask and look at, and stop taking things on face value, like especially when your enemy tells you some shit. Like, think about it. If your enemy tells you some shit, don't you have to take it with a grain of salt, or at the very least investigate it your own self to see if your enemy is giving you false information? And we don't have a lot of those resources to even do that. Where are microbiologists in hip hop?
Do you know anybody who's died of AIDS personally? Or has AIDS? Has HIV?
Hang on, let me think. Do I know anybody that died of AIDS? Not that I can think of offhand, but I feel like I must. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I personally don't, but I know people who do.
Right.
I mean, matter of fact, Kevin Gates' father died of AIDS.
Really?
You have friends who caught HIV?
Man, want me to tell you something? My daddy died February 25th. My biological father, he died from AIDS.
Really?
Yeah, he used to tell me, man, I had more holes than clothes.
Let me tell you, I don't know what it's like to be in a world without AIDS. At my age, growing up, before I had sex, there was AIDS. So
I remember a world where there was no AIDS.
I kind of remember a world with no AIDS, but I wasn't having sex back then, so it didn't really, you know, apply and register to me. And the reason why I'm saying that is that I can't think of a single time that I've had sex where at least the thought of, okay, I might catch AIDS from doing this, at least would flicker. Now, granted, it's your woman and you're a monogamous and everything else like that.
Really? Every time you have sex, you think of that?
I think of that to a certain degree, because you never.
That's how you get it. When you start thinking shit, you bring shit to you.
Well, because when you really think about it, you're not around a person 24/7. You never know what this person is doing when you're not around. You trust the person. I'm not saying I'm stressing the fuck out, but there's always a little bit of a thought like, okay, well, what?
And just like you never know what's in that fucking burger that you just bit into.
Sure.
You never know what's in that soda that you're drinking.
Right.
But because they said that pussy is the thing that gives you AIDS, you're gonna be more tuned to look at that instead of the other shit that it really could be.
Like I really hope that my future children at some point could be in a world where AIDS is not a thing. That, oh, okay, I got some AIDS, let me just take this shot. Okay, cool.
Right, but it'll
my
be
AIDS
something else. It'll be something else.
But AIDS is different than something else. Like, you always had STDs.
And what I'm saying is, if it's something else, they're gonna try to find something that's worse than AIDS. Something that's worse than AIDS. Like Ebola was like supposed to be worse than AIDS, but it wasn't a sexual type of disease. Like,
Right.
They need a disease that is so terrifying that you are just scared shitless to put your dick in some pussy. That's what they're looking for. And AIDS didn't even do it. Like, AIDS was supposed to have you terrified to even fuck. And there was still people fucking raw. And to this day, fuck raw.
Yeah,
Bitch, broads that they might meet 5 minutes ago, fucking a raw in the bathroom somewhere.
Yep.
They don't necessarily have AIDS. They might, but they might not. And we don't know. I'm just saying, we don't fully know. Stop taking shit on face value. Just because this motherfucker told you that's how it is. Find out for yourself. I don't know. I'd like to know, but I'm not just going to trust their fucking word. Especially these fucking doctors that's here to kill you.
Do you feel that a white person could head up an organization like Black Lives Matter?
White people started the NAACP.
Right.
So do I feel
Did they?
Can? Yeah. That ain't no black organization.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, look it up.
I believe you. I just didn't know that.
No, I'm just saying, yeah. So can a white person head up a black organization? Sure they can, they have, and they still do. Should they? That's a question for debate. My answer would be no.
Well, my answer would be no as well. And this is why. I work within the black community. My relationships have a lot of times been with black women. My friends are mostly black. But I don't know what it's like to be a black person. Because at the end of the day, when I walk in the street,
They don't know your backstory.
They don't know my backstory. And if they don't recognize who I am, if they don't know, oh, that's DJ Vlad, I'm just a regular white guy who's got some Yeezys on, and and that's it. Like, I would never say that I understand the plight of a race that I am not a part of.
Although you might be able to sympathize.
I could definitely sympathize, but I could never say that I know what you're going through. I would never in my life say that, because I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what it's like to be in America as a black person with the history that America has with slavery and so forth. I just don't know. I have no idea.
And you can't know. Yeah. All you can do is vicariously
try
to understand.
I can listen, I can understand, I can learn.
And you've put yourself in a position where you're in a great job to sit here, ask people questions, and try to learn what it's like to be
and let people
black in America.
And let people who actually go through it, and I give them a voice, like yourself, like Dr. Boyce Watkins, like Charlemagne, whoever.
Valuable in its own self.
Yeah, and I'm fine with doing that. I don't need to take it one step further and say I'm one of you. Like,
right. Like,
I'm perfectly comfortable with being me.
But would any other organization, would the Jews let me come in and be a rabbi?
Well, I mean, there are black rabbis, but
are there?
Yeah.
At white synagogues?
Possibly. I mean, because in Israel there's a lot of Ethiopian Jews.
And they're only with the Ethiopian, and they don't want to fuck with those Ethiopian Jews.
Not necessarily.
Vlad.
Not as a whole.
Vlad.
I've been to Israel.
Okay, I've heard a lot of things about this.
Sure, there's going to be racism.
Well, show me. I would like to see, if you can Google real quick. Just show me a black rabbi heading up a white tabernacle. I'll wait.
Black rabbi.
If he is a black rabbi, he's going to have a black congregation.
There's actually some famous black rabbis here, apparently. A guy named Elisa Stanton, a guy named Capers Fournier.
Who are their congregations?
So there's a guy named Capers Fournier who has a 200-member congregation in Chicago.
And those are white followers. Those are white Jews.
Okay, here we go. Elisa Stanton.
Okay.
Is an African-American Jew. She ordained as the first African-American. Yeah, she ordained as the first African-American female rabbi. In August 2009, she began to work as a rabbi at the congregation.
And when did it happen? When was this?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
A
small majority white synagogue in Greenville, North Carolina.
A small majority white synagogue.
The first African-American rabbi to lead a majority white congregation. So
right.
There you go.
An anecdotal story about one who we could find with the thousands of congregations around the country. We found one that's headed up by a female black rabbi.
Okay, but
you understand what
I understand what you're saying, and I'll even prove your point one step further. Mm-hmm. Do you think you could have a black guy who's the head of the Jewish Defamation League?
Absolutely not. Because the Jewish Defamation League is set up to defend the rights of Jews and any anti-Semitism that happens anywhere in the world. So how would somebody who's not Jewish understand and be able to look out for the plight of the Jewish people?
What if you're born Jewish and you're black? Can an Ethiopian Jew head up the Jewish Defamation League? I can see that.
Well, see, here's the thing. To be a Jew and to be Jewish are two different things.
Okay. I know about this.
Yes.
I know about this.
So could a black Jew, first of all, the Jewish Defamation League is not necessarily for all Jews, you see? So that's more for the Jewish. No offense to the Jewish. There's more ish. There's, stripper-ish-esque. There's Jew-esque, Like, and what does ish mean? Let's keep it real. What does ish mean? Kind of like MC-ish. See, Action Bronson is Ghostface-ish. Right? He's not Ghostface, but he's very similar to it. He's ish.
You don't think you're kind of focusing on the semantics of the word too much?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Tell me what ish means. What is what is suffix, prefix, whatever? What does the fuck ish mean? It means kind of like, sort of. Facsimile thereof. But it's not the original.
And the original Jews are black?
Yes.
Coming from
Africa.
From Africa?
Yes. Ethiopia, all of that.
Egypt.
Timbuktu was a Jewish nation. Was a black Jewish kingdom. Yeah. So that being said,
Yeah.
as a black man, I would know what it is to be Jewish, though. You see what I'm saying? Because the Jewish people went through the Holocaust with, Hitler and all that type of shit. That wasn't necessarily the original Jews that I'm talking about. This is the Jewish people, the ones that we know now to be the most popular group of what are known as Jews on the planet right now.
Okay. So you're saying that the Ethiopian Jews in Israel are Jews?
Are the original Jews.
And the white Jews in Israel are Jewish?
Are Jewish, yes.
What about the Middle Eastern?
The Middle Eastern
Because Jews is broken up into two categories. There's Sephardic and Ashkenazi.
Okay.
Sephardic are the darker skinned.
Right.
Ashkenazis are more the light skinned, the European looking ones.
Well, that's a science there that needs to go into. I need to do more research on those two different sects. But I guarantee you it has to do with...
But both of those groups are accepted into Israel.
Right.
Equally.
I don't know about equally.
Equally.
I don't. When it comes to government and law, they are not. They're not. I've seen Ethiopian Jews videos of them getting persecuted by the police, by white people, protesting against Ethiopian Jews.
I'm not saying this doesn't happen, but that's not actually what I'm focusing. What I said or what I meant. What I meant was in Israel's original doctrine, they allow anyone who has Jew DNA to come to the country and become a citizen.
Right. But now is everything that's in a goddamn piece of paper really real? Like there's written laws and then there's the unspoken laws that are really going on. America says all men are created equal, but are they really?
Yeah.
Like, come on. So they are not accepted the same way that the white Jewish people are accepted in Israel.
That's fair enough. But for example, there was for the first time, Miss Israel was Ethiopian, was an Ethiopian Jew. So am I going to say that it's always been completely equal and everyone's loved each other equally? No, but I feel that over time, society does become less racist and more accepting and so forth.
But does it become less racist, or does it learn how to hide its racism better?
I think it becomes
See,
less racist.
the same thing you're saying about, you know, they had their first Ethiopian beauty queen or whatever. It's
Right.
the same shit they're saying about we have our first black president.
Right.
Like, but really, does that make this country any less racist? No. Like, if anything, that brought out more racism in the country. That made people, some of those people take off their mask. And just like I said, more masks will have to be taken off for your man Trump to get in fucking shit. But people already started taking their shit off just by having this man in the motherfucking White House. So things like that that are put up to us as signs of progress are not always that.
You think that America is more racist after Obama than it was before Obama?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. When has a president ever been treated with such disrespect the way this president has? By his own, I mean by senators and congressmen right in the chambers, right to his face. They done said some ill shit that they never would have said to no president prior to this.
But you don't think that on a certain level, because remember back in the 80s, there was an argument that blacks couldn't be quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they could be linemen, they could be wide receivers, but
right, and then Doug Williams
some people
was the
felt,
first quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Some people felt that blacks did not have the mental capacity to be a quarterback and think fast on their feet to, you know, scan the field and so forth.
Right.
That's why for a long time, you just literally had no black quarterbacks. You had tons of black players, no black quarterbacks. And then Doug Williams.
Although black people knew for the longest time that wasn't true.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing
football
amongst black people for the longest time.
And there was a black quarterback, right?
There was a black quarterback, and he appeared to be a lot better than the white quarterback.
Was there a, I mean, I know baseball had a Negro league. Was there a black league in football?
I mean, I don't know about a professional black league, but like when you young, you know, a lot of black kids, we play Pop Warner, and you know, it goes kind of by your neighborhood where y'all, you know. So if your area is a black area, then your team is gonna be kind of all black. But then y'all might, you know, you play other teams, and sometimes they're majority, well, a lot of times they're all white. But there's other teams that are all black, or some that are mixed, and it just depends. You know, that's how it was up in Westchester. Like, you know, I was on a kind of team that most of our players was black. We might have had a couple white boys on the team or whatever, but basically it was all black. But then, like, if we play in Mount Vernon, then that's gonna be a black team. But then we might go up to fucking, you know, Ossining or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's an all-white school or some shit, you know what I mean?
So saying that, the fact that there were no black quarterbacks up to a certain point, you could imply that the NFL was somewhat of a racist organization, right?
Yes.
Okay. But once that mold was broken, and once that theory was...
That doesn't mean that they're still not racist, because there's still other places you have to look. What about the head office? What about the places that really matter? See, you got us fighting for the little bullshit just to be a quarterback, when there's a whole other places that we're not even dealing with. Then there was a quarterback, then what about the head coach? Okay. And then they give you the coach, and then there's the general manager.
And now there are, like, once again, there was no head coaches.
Right, and then eventually there was, but still the majority are white. So you put a couple in there as tokens to keep these motherfuckers quiet, and we're gonna even put some of these motherfuckers in the head office, and we're even gonna let a couple of these musicians buy a minority stake in some of these teams. But show me, you know what I mean, when it's some real, like, yo, this is a full black-owned team, like, the majority owner of this team is a black guy, like, you know what I mean? And the shit is moving down the line from there, like, you know what I mean? Like, when is as all the black players in the fucking NBA, why is the commissioner of the NBA some nerdy white boy who looks like he's never played basketball in his life?
Well, my point is, to bring it back to our original point, is that you now have for 8 years running now, the most important job in America is with a black man. So
I don't think it's the most important job in America.
Well,
that's what they try to portray.
an extremely important job in America. And you now have a situation, and because the way I believe that human nature works is that it's very rare for someone to say, I'm going to have a completely original thought. I'm going to do something that nobody's ever thought.
Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun. Most times you look at someone else and say, and you look at what they're doing and say, okay, well, if they could do it, I think I could do it. You know, I mean, I remember, you know, as a DJ, I came in and I looked at Funkmaster Flex and I said, okay, well, he's a DJ, but you know, he's got his own shoe and he's got these other businesses, and yeah, I'm gonna kind of mold myself after this. I'm gonna use this DJ shit to build a business around it, and you know, it didn't end up being in the same direction as Flex. You know, it ended up being a website, and you know, and oddly enough, Flex ended up kind of going in my direction. He ended up starting a website after I did, and he's done, you know, okay with it, and you know, it's one of those types of things where it's people take ideas from from each other. Up until 8 years ago, there was no black kid growing up that says, I'm going to be president. And here's an example of someone doing it. Whereas now they can look at Obama and say,
well, no black kid in America.
In America, exactly. Now black kids in America can say, I could be president. Obama did it, and he got reelected even. It wasn't a fluke. He got reelected.
He could say that. I mean, and there's value, you know.
I think there's very strong value in that.
Of course, there's strong value in the psychological image of that.
Exactly.
But does that mean that the whole country is changed by it? Like, does that mean that America, at its core, see, you can dress your shit up with all kind of shit, but when you strip it down and get to the bones of something, well, America's a racist fucking piece of shit.
I mean, I'll give you one more point. As someone who owns a business in America, I could clearly say that the economy in America before Obama, as Obama was coming in, is much improved than Obama leaving. We're all making more money. The stock market, which is a gauge as to how the companies in America function, has almost doubled. Real estate has improved, and overall the quality of living since Obama has come into office has improved for America. So you could look at that and say, not only was there a black president, but he actually did a pretty good job. Well, because there were some fuck presidents over the course of
but see, Obama has done fuck shit too. See, it's like I can't give him full credit for those good things, just like I can't give him full credit for the bad things that he's done. Like, to me, he's just a fucking figurehead. Yep. Like he's a puppet. He's just the front man that you push out there to say, you know, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. You know, just like they brought Colonel Sanders back. You're not seeing the real owner of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I feel that Obama was, for example, the main person that you could look at Obamacare, and you could look at universal, the fact that now a lot more people have health care than before.
I don't think that was
You don't think so?
I don't
that wasn't
think
his. He didn't push that
brainchild of. He might have pushed it because he was told to push it.
He pushed it under his term.
Huh?
He pushed it under his term.
Right, and he also pushed fucking, you know, police being able to enter your house without search warrants. He also pushed that.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is worse than all that fucking good shit you just mentioned. Like,
really?
Man, come on.
So you think that the changes in police search and seizure laws outweighs healthcare?
Yes, the taking away. I'll keep myself healthy. I'd rather have my freedoms. Okay. I'd rather have my freedom than worry about you giving me some fucking health care. Because I'm healthy, okay? I exercise, I eat right. If y'all motherfuckers was doing that in the first place, you wouldn't need all this fucking health care like that.
Okay.
So I'd rather have the peace of mind knowing that if I'm in my crib, these motherfuckers just can't just come in there because they feel like it. I'd rather that. And first of all, niggas been going to the hospital for the longest time, regardless, and if they can't pay the bill, they don't pay it. The fuck, this how we get down. You know what I mean?
Give a fake name.
Man, there's all kind of hood shit that motherfuckers do. You know what I mean? You get shot or something, you go into the hospital, you gotta do whatever the fuck you gotta do.
Right.
Even if they send you the bill or whatever, well, you can't get blood out of stone, motherfucker, send me the bill.
Yeah.
Come find me if you can find me. But, you know, healthcare, you know, first of all, black people, most of us weren't even working at jobs where they provided health care.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like all of this worried about how high it is to pay for health care, that's, you know, a more middle class and, you know.
Well, I mean, for example, all of my full-time employees, we cover their health care.
Beautiful. That's great.
I think that's important.
That's what an employee, you know, should do.
Employer, yeah.
Yeah, an employer, sorry.
Yeah.
An employer should take care of, you know, keep his employees secure, make them feel some sort of security.
Yeah.
And healthcare is one way to do it. But forcing people to go into a marketplace and buy healthcare from these companies, because first of all, let's not forget the original thing was for universal health care to be free for all people like they have it over in other advanced countries in Europe. That was the original thing. We got the bait and switch.
Canada.
Okay, he gave us the bait and switch with this fucking Obamacare shit. And now we're gonna act like we're supposed to give him a clap and pat him on the back for the bait and switch? Get the fuck out of here. Hell no. Like, if anything, when he gets out of here, they're gonna look at all the foul shit that he passed under his watch. So you just gave me a list of a few things that you think is good. Let's go find the list of bullshit, how he extended the Patriot Act and all this other bullshit that's going on under his watch. How the country right now is in such a racially fucking charged, you know, point right now under his watch that, what the fuck? Like, it's all in perspective. It's all in the way that you look at something.
Well, he's almost out of office. We'll see what
He's
happens.
almost out of office. But now what he's done is made it so that there's not going to be another black president for a very long time.
There might be a female president.
Oh, there's going to be a female president, definitely. I mean, Hillary's probably going to get it. They promised that broad this shit a long time ago. When they said, please don't leave this motherfucker. If you stay with this motherfucker Bill and ride with him, that's my word. We're going to let you be president one day.
Yeah, well.
She said, are you sure?
Well, because I would vote for Biden over Hillary Clinton.
And the motherfucker said, yes, trust me. And then with the last one, they was like, hang on, this is the setup. We're going to let the black man get in. And we're going to let the woman in. And then the woman is going to be the setup for the transgender or a gay motherfucker down the road. Now, probably they won't jump out the window with transgender. They'll go from the woman, and then eventually they'll have an openly gay president.
Right.
That's coming. That's the one after the woman.
Right.
Watch.
We'll see what happens.
And matter of fact, the first openly gay one could be a woman president, though.
Right, because that's a little bit easier to swallow.
Easier to swallow, yeah. No pun intended.
All right, man. I think we're good.
Yes, sir.